Hello friends, welcome. I read 21 books in December and it was an absolute fab month. I will talk about each of the books I have read after the intro. I started out with fantasy and I completed the enormous Wheel of Time series in December month. I started with book 11, that's Knife of Dreams. It's the last book Robert Jordan wrote before he passed away in 2007, and then Brandon Sanderson picked the series up and he did a fabulous job completing it. So before the change of pen happens, I read the prequel novel in the series, which is New Spring. And after that, I read book 12, 13 and 14 written by Brandon Sanderson. That's Gathering Storm, The Towers of Midnight, and my fab book, okay, maybe recency bias, but my fab book in the series, A Memory of Light. Wheel of Time is an enormous, a beast of a series, but it is totally worth my time. I so much enjoyed this series, the world building that Robert Jordan's genius created. It was amazing. And talking about it in this video and summarizing it won't do the justice of Robert Jordan. I will deep dive into Wheel of Time series in some other video, but absolute fab read, all time amazing, favorite reads of all time, I can say. The next book I read was an independent and an standalone, you can say. It's a very popular standalone. I read Sword of Kaigen by ML Wang. This book, my oh my, it starts slow. It spends a lot of time in building the world around, but it has an amazing pace afterwards. The characters, the action scenes, amazing, absolutely amazing book. Highly recommend it. One thing I would like to tell you, if you like this series and then you try to find out if there is any sequel or plans for one, you will be disappointed just like me. Right after I finished the series, I went online and looked up if there is a sequel to it or the writer is planning to do one, and I was disappointed. So just be aware about that before reading this book. Absolutely amazing standalone, you can read it, but no plans as of now for a sequel. Another book that I read was a Hindi high fantasy written by Babu, Devaki, Nandan, Khatri. I was looking up to find some Hindi high fiction books and I stumbled upon a cult classic book called as Chandrakanta, and I am planning to read the further books into the series, which is Chandrakanta Santati, which is in I think 6 parts, and Bhutnath as well, which is written by Babu, Devaki, Nandan, Khatri. And that wrapped up my fantasy reads of December. After I had a lot of dose of fantasy and I thought let's read some non-fiction. So the first book I read in non-fiction was How Proust Can Change Your Life by Alain Botton. He's a Swiss writer and he has done a great distillation of Marcel Proust's work, and he has done it in a self-help book, but it is written in a memoir kind of way, which is unusual but is extremely well written. This, if I will talk to you, this book has my interest and it will have yours if I just name the chapters. Chapters are how to love life today, how to read for yourself, how to take your time, how to suffer successfully, how to express your emotions, and amazing read. I highly recommend reading it. Absolutely loved it. Another book that I read was Plato and Platypus Walk into a Bar by Harvard educated philosopher Thomas Cathcart and Danile Klein. In this book, the writers explore the profound ideas of philosophy through a series of jokes. And you will laugh while reading this, you will tickle your brain, and you will definitely learn a thing or two about. Another book that I read was Ministry of External Affairs S. Jaishankar's book, The India Way, and it tells the evolution of India's foreign policy over the decades, and it has a very profound question that is lasting to me, and that question that writer asks is, will the world continue to define India or will India define itself? Amazing read. Another non-fiction that I read was Everybody Lies by Seth Stephen Davidovitz. He is an ex-Google data scientist and he talks about the common biases or gut feelings that we have, the common understanding of the world we have about how people behave versus how they actually do. The book heavily relies on the Google Trends data, and he essentially says that even if there is an enormous data set of surveys that takes place, people often do not tell that much truth of a survey because we are essentially dealing with human subjects. They tend to over exaggerate and sometimes lie in surveys, but their Google search do not. As it is completely anonymous, people are mostly honest while they are searching in a search bar of Google. After my dose of non-fiction, I went to read some cozy fiction books. The first among them was The Days at Morisaki Bookshop by Satoshi Yagisawa. Very interesting story about this book. I finished this in a single sitting while being at a cafe, and it's a library as well, so cafe come library, interesting setting. And I read this while I was waiting to collect my phone which I had given for repairs. And since I was told that you have 4 to 5 hours to get your phone back, I went to the store and I looked for a short book that I can just finish while sipping over coffee. So this is the book I stumbled upon. Amazing. I find it very, very interesting, and I bought it after reading it in the cafe to keep it in my collection. Another book that I read was Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshiakazu Kawaguchi, and it's a very famous read. The same book also contained the novel Tales from Cafe, and this is one of the most coziest magic realism book. This is set in a backdrop of cafe which allow people to travel back in time with certain set of rules. Very interesting exploration of regret, past, relationship. It's a very bittersweet feeling that you will get after reading this book. I liked it very much. You can pick it up and read it definitely. Then I would like to talk about, it may be controversial to say, but I would like to talk about the book that I was disappointed at. And that book is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabriel Jevin. And the reason I'm disappointed was this book was one of the most famous book in 2022. It has over 680,000 reviews on Goodreads. It won the Goodreads Fiction Awards for 2022 as best fiction book. But the reason I was let down is because this feels like a very overly ambitious attempt to be bestseller. So what the writer does, she explores a lot of themes and juggles between them. It feels like she just googled what the popular trending topics around and what are the popular themes are, and just she tries to put almost everything in this book. So and as a result, what happens is many of the themes in this book remains very superficial and you will not like it. Another thing is the character development, or rather lack of it, in this book is something very frustrating, because see, sometimes even a 12-year-old kid will sound like a complete adult while an adult will be very childish, which will be very frustrating as it was for me. So I did not much like this book. Another book that I read was Vivek Sandberg's Sakina's Kiss. Very interesting book. It leaves many of the storylines open-ended, but it explores the theme very well. And it's very contemporary set. I really liked it. 4 out of 5 stars. You can try and pick it up. After reading fiction books, I wanted to read some poetry, and then I picked Oxford Anthology of Modern Indian Poetry edited by Vinay Dharwadkar and A.K. Ramanujam. This book is published by Oxford India Press, and it contains a collection of Indian poems translated from multiple languages. I will read one for you. A great man once said to me, "Write whatever you want to, but on the condition it should be an improvement on the blank white page." See, this is why I don't write. I may not be an improvement on the blank page. Another great book of poetry that I read was 100 Selected Poems by Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson is considered one of the best lyric writer of her times, and I will read one poem for you. Heart, we will forget him, you and I tonight. You may forget the warmth he gave, I will forget the light. Chef's kiss. Amazing. I read a classic book, not a book. See, this is a booklet only, but this is called Letters to a Young Poet from René Maria Rilke. This contains a collection of 10 letters that French couples received between 1902 to 1908 from René Maria Rilke. And in this letter, Maria offers advice on love, solitude, creativity, and finding beauty in very small things. I liked it. It's a very short read. Definitely pick it up. The thriller I picked up is called The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. This book is very, very popular, but I did not like it. I will say why. See, first of all, if I'm reading a thriller book, I expect A lot of oh my god, wow, oh no, this happened, oh my god, I can't believe that happened, oh no, this is the but this book, this does not deliver on it. This book goes on and on and on, and then there is a big reveal at the end, and therefore, like, if I'm reading a thriller, come on, have some more plot elements to it. It's like it is forgettable at best, I can say. You will like it at the end. Many people consider it amazing, they like the reading, but I did not like it as much. The last book that I read is When We Cease to Understand the World by Benjamin Lebetur. This is a sci-fi book, although I consider this book a genre-defying read because it has a historical element to it. So it feels like historical fiction, but this has fiction elements to it. So it kind of feels like sci-fi also. It's a mix of it, but a banger of a book. Definitely recommend. Please read this. I am sure if you liked Oppenheimer movie, then you are bound to read this and you will love it amazingly well. One of my all-time favorites, definitely 5 out of 5 stars. So that brings us to the end of the video. This is all the book that I read in 2023 December. Please like if you found the video to be interesting, and please do subscribe the channel. Thank you very much. Until next time, happy reading.